Anti-masker bitches be like, hi, I would like my order made faster because I do not value you as a. Oh, my mask that I've been having to wear inside of every building that I've entered that wasn't someone else's house for over 6 months? Oh, I'm sorry. I just forgot that I should care about you as a person. And because I don't value your humanity, livelihood, or well being, I decided to put it on my chin so that I can breathe slightly more easily and that you can hear me with the absolute crispest quality possible. Even though we're in a loud restaurant with music playing and I'm trying to tell you what food to make me, now get back to work, you little food slave. Is that better? Hello everyone. Today's video comes a little bit more loose, a little bit more unscripted, a little bit more I didn't put any time into outlining this video because I forgot and I was working. But as you can see from whatever title I decide to choose, this video is about the coronavirus, which means I'm probably going to get demonetized. Hello YouTube censors. Hello audience. These are two separate types of people. One of them wants me to never make money off of my creative passion. The other one cares what I have to say as a rational person who wears my mask everywhere I go. So while you watch this video, ad-free, I'm going to talk to you about my opinions on the continually occurring COVID-19 pandemic. This comes as a surprise video. I'm making this as a surprise to myself because I thought that I might have COVID, and I don't. I got my test back today. It's negative. I would show you, but that would involve screenshotting my medical testing app, and I can't because my phone won't let me. So anyway, the point is, I'm negative. I don't have coronavirus. Isn't that wonderful? I have not had it. I've been tested 5 times. They've all been negative, but I keep getting tested because I'm a responsible person. I work in a restaurant. I've talked about this very briefly before, I think. I work as a server, someone who puts food in bags. I'm not a kitchen worker. I do everything else, essentially. Essential workers. That's a joke that would have been funny in March. So I work in a restaurant, and recently the management of my restaurant told all of us through a basically text message through our scheduling app that someone in our restaurant had COVID and that they had to stop working, and that because none of us were in close contact with them, that we didn't have to know who it was. And I understand, it's a medical issue. They don't have to tell us who it is. But it's really annoying that they can't. Because as soon as we're off the clock, half of my coworkers take off their masks around each other and sit and eat their salads at the same table outside the restaurant. But just because it's outside, it's not against CDC guidelines, so my fucking managers don't have them do anything about it, and that pisses me off. I'm of the belief that to be a responsible person in America during the COVID-19 pandemic as it continues, you have to wear a mask every time you go somewhere, including if you're walking past people outdoors. You have to not be hanging out with everyone you know. You should, in fact, hang out with basically nobody that you know. Now, there are some people who say that it is completely unethical to do any type of social interaction that's not completely necessary. I would say it's maybe irresponsible to a degree. I would say that it's not necessarily unethical in its entirety. And I'm going to cut myself off and never finish that bulleted list that I was making with my fingers because I want to talk about this point, and I'm just doing this off the cuff. I think that to a degree, some social interaction is necessary to preserve your well-being mentally, and I think that mental well-being is super important when you are in a society that should, at the very least, if not is, be paranoid about physical well-being every second of every day for at least the last couple of months. This video is being made in October of 2020, and here in America, we are not at all done with the coronavirus pandemic. It's not getting worse anymore, but it's bad. It's been worse already, but it's definitely not over, and it's not on enough of a decline that ignoring it is at all responsible. and I'll be the first to say it, I have not followed the technicalities of every single guideline for every single recommended action during the pandemic. I have seen certain people without masks on. I have gone outside of my house for things that I didn't need to do to survive, other than work, because I consider that something I need to do to survive. The government's not giving me enough money. I do work in a place with lots of other people who aren't COVID responsible because they don't believe in it, or they don't believe that they're going to be affected greatly by it, etc. And then I go and do some things in my normal life without giving that disclaimer to every single person. But with all of that said, there's a good way to be your most regular self right now, and there's a bad way. I would say that the difference is, if you are going into irresponsible situations being as irresponsible as everyone else willingly, that's your prerogative, sure. But, let's say you're around a bunch of people and they're all your friends. Not necessarily damning. Let's say that all of your other friends don't believe in COVID, and you're still friends with them because that's who you are, and that's fine. You don't have to agree on everything. Let's say that all of your friends who don't believe in COVID had a party where they brought 2 of the guys' girlfriends, one other friend who, they live in a big communal household, and they were all not wearing masks at this party, and because who's having a party and wearing masks? That's counterintuitive. Like, either commit or don't, right? Like, either you want to die and kill yourself and everyone around you, or you want to stay at home and be responsible. I feel like there's not a medium there. But anyway, and let's say at this party, everybody was like drunk or high or something, and they weren't able to distance themselves properly in any way. You just assume that if one person's infected, everyone's infected. Now, if you go and hang out with these friends, that's already kind of irresponsible. Because unless they got tested and their tests came back negative since the party happened, if it was last night, that's not true. So that's probably not your best move. But if you've got a mask on and you're staying a couple feet at the least away from everybody, you're not taking your mask off to eat unless you're far away from people, you can do that and be pretty safe. Let's say that you're hanging out with these people without a mask on. None of you are wearing your masks. Even though you weren't at that party, you are now, biologically at that party, if that makes sense. If they have COVID from that party, I guess, technicalities, it does take a few days to develop, and sometimes it's not immediately transmittable, but let's say it was, because that's the safest assumption, you now have COVID from that party, if someone else does. So you were basically at the party and you didn't even get to have fun. It's like kind of the same thing, right? If you hang out with someone with no masks on who doesn't hang out with other people with no masks on, and you are effectively insulated to each other in terms of COVID guidelines, then there shouldn't be an assumption of a heightened risk between the two of you. Now, medically speaking, there is a heightened risk because that's another person, and therefore they're a risk vector. And that's a thing you have to, console within yourself. That's something you have to think about. But if you're around another person who you trust because you know what they're doing and they tell you and you trust them, if you get it, you should tell them. If they get it, they should tell you. But under the assumption that you're both being regularly tested, is that unethical? Is that immoral? Is that wrong? Unsafe? That's for you to decide. I think you can designate some people to be safe within your life as long as you are independently of any incident getting tested regularly, being smart, staying away from people, keeping masks on, treating not wearing a mask like taking off your underwear in public, right? Like, seeing someone's lower face right now should feel the same way as seeing their dick. And so anybody who you won't let see your dick, and I understand people have multiple types of genitals, this is a joke, but if you wouldn't let someone see your dick, you shouldn't let them see the lower half of your face, and vice versa. That's how I feel. There's a level of understanding that people have. But I feel like some people think that because they feel safe with people in terms of emotions, that makes those people safe in terms of catching a deadly virus. And that's just provably not true. I started my job at the restaurant I work at since the pandemic began. And I remember within my first couple weeks, several of my coworkers were getting together with all of their families, because they're all like late teens, so they can still they still live with their parents and they go on family trips and stuff. They were all getting together as in a multiple family pack to go on a road trip to a lake together. Like, I get it if the rest of your family works from home or doesn't work or something right now. They're safe. Doing stuff with them is safe. Even if you didn't live with them, I would say. That's people you trust personally, and they're not being exposed to an unnecessary risk factor. But even assuming that, putting 3 families worth of people together is just never a good idea when one person having a virus that could potentially be undetectable to them without a test that they would have to voluntarily go and take, that could end up hurting so many of you. Not to mention, if you're the type of person who doesn't see that risk, you're probably also going and talking to other people who have done similar things without your mask on because you trust them personally, emotionally, they're your friend, and so you trust that everything will be fine and be safe. And that's just not a choice that you should be able to responsibly make if you consider yourself a mature and responsible person. You know, I wouldn't wish to incriminate children on this kind of thing, because when you're born into a world where this does not yet exist, but you're not yet old enough to understand the history behind, I don't know, virus pandemics and stuff like that, and you have no reason to believe anybody about it because it's new to you and doesn't feel real, I hope you don't get it. Because being irresponsible is still being irresponsible, but when you're a child, you can make your own choices in a way that should be guided by a rational figure of authority in most cases. But part of being a kid is doing your own thing. When you're an adult, even if you're a young adult, if you're 19, 20, you should know your job as a person who functions in society independently, having a job, driving around, knowing people, doing things. If you function independently, you are therefore independently responsible for the harm that you might cause. And by ignoring COVID guidelines to anybody who isn't the most trustable, most close of people, you are therefore not taking responsibility for the harm you might be causing. I highly doubt that if you go to your friend and say, hey, I have COVID, and they go, yeah, I fucking know you do, I have COVID too, and I know I got it from you now that you told me you have it, I doubt they're going to be super receptive to you saying, oh, well, I just thought it was fake, or I didn't realize it was that big of a deal, or my mask is uncomfortable. Like, you can buy a more comfortable piece of fabric that still covers up your breathing in a way that drops or stops droplets, particles, from your mouth. You can talk to someone over the phone or the internet. If you're watching this video, you can create safe ways to interact with people so that the only times where you feel you need to break those guidelines are either non-existent or extremely minimal. It shouldn't be every day. I mean, obviously, if you live with someone, that's not breaking guidelines. That's quarantine assumes you're quarantining with the people you live with. But, if you're seeing someone all the time or multiple people all the time in an unsafe way with regards to virus spread, you have to think about that. And I feel like that should be something that you shouldn't do, So right now, in America, not only are we all thinking about coronavirus, but in the last few days, we're thinking about how President Donald Trump has coronavirus. I think it's pretty fun and sexy of the virus to infect such a powerful and corrupt man, but that's just me. My cat thinks so too. I don't wish anybody to die. I don't think anybody should die. But if someone's going to catch a virus with a pretty high mortality rate, perhaps they should think about all the people they didn't provide healthcare to who had it before them and did not make it. I'm looking at you, buddy. you old-ass orange man. You could have guessed by the fact that I'm a trans person who talks about Black Lives Matter that I'm not a huge fan of Donald Trump, but I'm not a huge fan of Donald Trump. Again, I don't want anybody to die, because in an ideal world, people would only die for medical reasons, and I mean, like, COVID's a medical reason, but you know what I mean. People would only die of, like, natural causes or sudden internally inflicted things and not be killed by something ominous and outside of their own body. But, you know, wink. So, in summary, if you're an anti-masker, I don't really like you very much, and I'm definitely going to stand very far away from you in every social scenario. If you're one of the people that wears a Trump mask, I just have to ask, why are you wearing the mask at all? If you're gonna wear a mask that says this mask is unnecessary, I saw a man at my restaurant put a mask on his child that said this mask does nothing, Trump 2020. If you're going to, like, tell everyone that you're endangering your children and every member of every minority group in America, you might as well go full in and, like, not wear your mask, carry a giant gun with you, kill someone and get arrested. Because, like, you're already awful. You're just telling everyone you're awful and you're not even committing. That's the weakest kind of awful. You know, go in or go home. Please don't kill anyone. Please don't infect anybody with the virus. Please don't get the virus. I like you because you're probably subscribed to my channel. And if you're not, you can view this conveniently pasted graphic of my subscriber stats, and you can see whether or not you can contribute meaningfully to the number of people who watch my videos while subscribed to my channel. If you like this video, give it a like. Better scripted content coming soon. I've been very sick this week, hence why I thought I had the coronavirus, so this video is very low effort, and I kind of feel like shit right now. When I don't feel like shit, my videos are better, and you can view them in this playlist. I did that motion because I don't know where I'm gonna put it. I'll see you later. I'm gonna stop my cat from screaming. She's been screaming this whole time. Avery, please stop screaming.